You have it? You have? Yeah. Till generality and instance, is it that one? Okay. Do you have it under me? Okay. Anything? Where's the mind? तुझे loves the mic. Can you give her a mic?
So it's actually a serious question.
Oh.
It's from last... No, I mean, it might sound funny, but it's not. It's from last night's teaching, but I was wondering if you could put into a syllogism the argument that Gen Rinpoche gave for what makes us a Buddhist and what makes us not a Buddhist, because I found out I'm not a Buddhist.
I was thinking
So
this.
I thought if a syllogism would be very helpful. Like he did that first one, I've been really using that. It's been
There's
really
first
helpful.
an idiom. There's a really nice saying that Tibetans have. Like traditionally in the monastery, you study Vinaya. You do. Have you heard this?
Yes.
Have you heard this thing? In the monastery, they study first Ududra, Lurik, Tarik, Pragya Paramita for like 7 years, Madhyamaka for 3. Then they do Vinaya. And so by the time the monks are studying Vinaya, they're about, like, they're, what is it, like 14, 15 years in? So the saying in Tibetan is, Dua yudu domba me, domba yudu dua me, which says when they hadn't studied Vinaya, then they had vows. And now that they studied Vinaya, they realize that they don't have vows. So it's kind of the same thing. Before you know what it means to take refuge, you call yourself a Buddhist, suddenly you hear what refuge means and you're like, wait a minute. That's kind of what it is, no? So, the syllogism, I don't know, we'll have to kind of construct one, right? Actually, this is a fair one. You can just do it like this. Take whoever you are, take myself that follows. I don't take refuge in the Dharma because I don't know what the Dharma is.
But is there another one that can follow that with giving more ideas about what the Dharma is?
So
like his other one was so like clear with, because I don't want suffering. He made it so you didn't have any guessing in between. It was just like, do you know what I'm saying?
Maybe you should ask him then. No, I don't think he gave a syllogism though. Gen didn't give a syllogism for this last night.
Let's check the observation.
Yeah, like I mean, can you take refuge in something when you don't know what it is? I guess that's fair enough, right?
It's not about that. It's more about like, really, I felt like putting it in syllogism would give a little more power to what I'm trying to do. Not necessarily to say whether or not I'm a Buddhist.
So the definition of Buddhist is take, so your syllogism then would be take me, it follows I'm not a Buddhist because I don't take refuge in the 3 because I haven't taken refuge in the 3 jewels. Period. You want to say reason not established, right?
Yeah.
And then you say take me, it follows I have not taken refuge in the 3 jewels because I don't know what the 3 jewels are. Right? So if you don't know what the 3 jewels are, you're not taking refuge in the 3 jewels. That's the point of Gen's thing yesterday. If you don't know what it is that you're taking refuge in, then how are you taking refuge in it? That's what it means. So there's 2 ways that they say one is taking refuge. One is taking refuge. There's also 2 ways that they talk about it. The Buddha is Shakyamuni Buddha, the Dharma is the teachings, and the Sangha is the community. That's a very layman, ordinary, uncle-auntie way of talking about the 3 jewels. Really, no, it really is. The uncle-auntie way of talking about the 3 jewels is like cultural Buddhism. The other Buddhism is you know what the 3 jewels are. So by definition, when you talk about the truth, about the Dharma as an object of refuge, do you know what that is?
Transforming the mind.
That's uncle-auntie. That's still uncle-auntie version. Dharma has a very clear definition. Huh?
That's what he told us last time.
That's the meaning of having to practice the Dharma. But the refuge Dharma, the Dharma that you're taking refuge in, what is that?
The realizations that you gain from cessations, what I had said was true cessations and true past.
That's what it is.
And then you said that was only an illustration.
That is the dharma. So there's two different things. The word dharma also just means phenomenon,
Yeah.
right? So dharma as an object of refuge is the cessation and the path. The Buddha as an object of refuge is not Shakyamuni Buddha who came and lived in India. That is someone who's characterized by three qualities. So the definition of Buddha is, what is the definition? No, those are all uncle auntie definitions. There's legit definition. The definition of Buddha is, so the verse is Duma Chechi Lunki Dushengi Kinki Tomi Bas Kendan Seta Nuba then Dini Sangit, which is having the three qualities. So I don't really know that, I don't remember how to translate the definition, but it's having the three qualities for oneself and three qualities for others. So the Buddha has to have that quality of Duma Cheva, which is uncompounded. Duma is Lunkidrup. Then those have to be spontaneous. They're not realized by others. Those are the qualities for the Buddha. So someone who has taken their, how would you translate it? The definition of Buddha is someone who has completely fulfilled one's and the need for oneself and one for others. You don't need to write these things down. You'll be doing the objects of refuge very soon. That's all part of course.
Then we can wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I thought that was going to be in the other years or something.
No. In the other years, yeah.
No, but I mean, so are we going to do it this?
No.
Oh, okay, then please
Not this
continue.
So the Buddha by definition, these are all the definitions of Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, come out of the Uttara Tantra, which is Maitreya's text. In the Uttara Tantra, the Buddha is qualified to have three qualities, which is the completion, how would you say, the completion of one's own needs, which is characterized by these three qualities. And then the completion of the needs of others is complete omniscience, complete love and complete potential. So when you think Buddha, if you think Shakyamuni Buddha, that's not Buddha. If you think Buddha and you think just enlightened mind, that's not Buddha. To understand what the Buddha is, you have to understand that there is a state which is possible where it possesses these six qualities. Because that's the completion of one's benefit and another's benefit. Similarly, when you think of the Dharma, just saying cessation and path doesn't mean anything until you can qualify. So then there's six qualities, three for cessation, three for path. Similarly, for the Sangha, there's three qualities, there's six altogether, right? So all of these Buddha, Dharma, Sangha qualified with six qualities each. Without knowing these six qualities, it doesn't qualify for refuge. So when you say Sangha, it's not monastics.
Yeah.
Sangha is, we know these things, right? But to say you know Sangha, you have to know someone who has direct realization of emptiness.
To know Sangha?
Yeah. To take refuge in the Sangha and to know what the Sangha is, you have to have someone. So go like this. It follows that to take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma and the Sangha, you have to know emptiness. Just break it down so simple like that.
Do you know emptiness myself?
Yeah. It follows you don't have to know emptiness. No. It follows you don't have to know emptiness. It follows you don't have to know cessation. It follows you don't have to know the Sangha. It follows you have to know the Sangha. To take refuge in the Sangha, you don't have to know the Sangha. Huh? Do you have to know what the Sangha is? Right? It follows that you have to know that there are beings with direct realization of emptiness. It follows that you have to know that there is direct realization of emptiness.
That's done,
It follows you have to know that there is emptiness. To know that there is direct realization of emptiness, you don't have to know emptiness. It's sufficient to hear that there is something that's direct realization of emptiness. It's enough to know direct realization of emptiness. Follows is not enough.
To know that.
No, first answer with 4 responses. It follows you don't have to know emptiness. That's my point. You have to know emptiness to know the Sangha. To take refuge and to have a perfect mind of refuge, it follows you have to know emptiness. So then ask yourself, do you take refuge, do you know emptiness? It's simple.
But knowing, I get stuck.
Knowing, like you have to be, do you have to know? Do you have to have doubt? What's the limit?
Yeah, can knowing be like correct assumption?
Fine. Do you have to have correct assumption?
That would be helpful.
Fine. Pick a limit. pick for you what is the meaning of taking refuge.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So is it correct
I
assumption?
would say correct assumption.
Right.
Yeah.
It follows that merely thinking that the Buddha exists is correct assumption.
Why?
So what is correct assumption? Define it.
Well, having conviction using logic and reasoning about the existence of the Buddha.
So it follows without logic and reasoning on the existence of the Buddha, you can't have correct assumption.
Except?
It follows you and your life have reasoned and reached the state of being certain.
No. Why?
So it follows that you haven't taken refuge in the Buddha. Then.
Except?
There you go, that's what it is.
Okay.
Right? So we have uncle auntie refuge.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's refuge which is cultural, it's cultural refuge. I mean, in Tibetan we say pomo, which is like grandfather, grandmother, I think more appropriately, right? But it's uncle auntie refuge. Uncle auntie in the sense is just common people refuge. That's not refuge. It becomes even worse because then in certain texts it says to have renunciation you have to have realized selflessness. Yeah. Yeah. So none of these things are easy. So okay, last night Gen what he said, Genla's sister was sitting over there. Okay? His younger sister. And when we were walking back, Genla said, Atisha, here we have our first critic. And she was giving us feedback. And her feedback was, this is too complicated. You're making it sound too difficult. Buddhism is not so hard. It shouldn't be so hard. People will get demoralized. That was her feedback. But it's kind of true to some degree, right? She's like, you should use other kinds of Buddhism that other teachers do, where they say it's not so hard, the Buddha is already there, your mind is Buddha. She's like, why are you doing, this is too hard, it's going to demotivate people. And Gen's point, which is also our point, is you already have access to that kind of Buddhism, right? So if that's the kind of Buddhism that you want to have access to, there's an abundance of it. But that's never how it's been done. That's not how it's really been done. So if you want to know what taking refuge is, by definition, if you want to know what renunciation is, by definition, if you want to know what bodhicitta is, by definition, and not definition in the sense that's what the Buddhists define it to be. It's people who've gone through that stage, they've generated that, and what they consider to be the bare minimum requirement for renunciation, bodhicitta, and refuge, they've listed it out. So we're following in their footsteps. If you're following in their footsteps, then what are they saying about it? Do you want to hear it and it sounds good and pleasing and so you say, oh nice, I also will take refuge in that? Or do you want to understand what these things are and then be certain that you want to do it or not? That's why His Holiness says, don't become Buddhist straight away. First check and see if it works. Because otherwise you're like, it's unpleasant. It's unpleasant to drop all of your beliefs and your normal ways of thinking. Also, the other thing which Gen said yesterday, I hope I translated it, but I think it's also important that you all realize, is it's not fun. You know how you were saying, you were asking Sarvana yesterday, Mark, that sometimes you don't enjoy it. You don't find joy in it. Yeah? You don't have to find joy in it. That's the point. Like, it's not the point to be thrilled and blissed and happy and peaceful all the time. Obviously not. It would be nice if it was, of course, but it can't be. Because they're saying things that are drastically opposite of what you believe.
Where I find it very confusing is we're always saying, well, why do we want to be, why are we doing this? We want happiness. We don't want suffering. And I know that if you deeply think about what happiness means, you get a different understanding, but then there's that confusion, like when you've got in the back of your mind what we've known happiness to be forever, then if you don't feel the joy, then you feel like it's not happening. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do. I get it.
So it's kind of nice
totally
to throw
agree.
the last two truths in there and put a little emphasis on that once in a while.
But to understand and appreciate the third truth, you know what? Actually, there's a thing. I remember even Gen in the South, he said, actually Chandrakirti also says that. In this one section in the 6th chapter where Chandrakirti is talking, he's arguing with someone who doesn't believe in reincarnation. Okay? And to them, Chandrakirti says, so if you want to talk about a contradiction, Chandrakirti says two things in the 6th chapter. In one section he says, if you don't believe in reincarnation, first reflect on dependent arising. And then you'll see that your doubts regarding reincarnation and all will be done away with. So my teacher in the South, Gen, said, see, when you're talking to people nowadays, you have to approach with dependent arising. And you have to start with emptiness because it's more convincing as an argument. But then what does Chandrakirti say is what are the qualities of a vessel who is a worthy recipient of emptiness? Do any of you feel like you are worthy recipients of emptiness? No, genuinely. You don't have to try and downplay yourself. Do you feel like you are? Because if you feel like you are, that's fine. But then let's see what Nagarjuna and what Chandrakirti say. Chandrakirti says, merely hearing the word emptiness makes you tear up, cry, get goosebumps and be moved. How many teachings have you got on emptiness? Have I got on emptiness? So clearly we're not worthy recipients. What makes you a worthy recipient is when you find the utility of it. So you can go on banging on the third and the fourth truth endlessly. And it's fascinating and it's metaphysical and you can mix it with science and quantum physics and you can do all kinds of really cool things with it and you can talk about different dimensions and you feel really good. It's like you've taken acid, you're like, wow, emptiness is so awesome. But what's the point of it if it's not something you care about? So the thing that Mark was saying, for instance, if you don't care that you feel stuck and then you hear about cessation, it's like saying, I'm very happy, well off in India. There's no problem in India. Why should I go abroad? People are dying to go abroad and are doing everything is because they don't have the means in India. They're desperate to go. So they'll sit on a boat with the chance that they're going to sink and they're going to go from Vietnam to the States. That's happening now, isn't it? People are going on boats. Refugees from Vietnam, I don't know to where, to America or something ridiculous. Right? So that's happening in countries or in people from India who are illegally running away to other countries because they're desperate to get away from here. I'm not. So you can keep praising Europe and, oh, Italy is so beautiful. Italy is, like Tuscany was beautiful when I went this year. But I'm very content here. There's no need. So you can keep praising and talking about the loveliness of it and how if you're there, then the sun will always set and it's like you're in a painting by Leonardo da Vinci all the time. The food is great. And who cares? Right? So there is cessation. It's a very nice thing. There is emptiness. I don't care. I'm fine. Why do I need it? So banging on the third and the fourth truth without having stressed on the first and the second, it's theory. That's why it doesn't make sense. Otherwise the Buddha would have started with the third, right? Why would he start with the first and the second? So the thing is, we nitpick, and this I can say now because none of the Tibetans are here, none of our teachers are here. We as modern people pick the stuff we like. And the stuff that's pleasant to us, sounds nice to us, we put it all together, make a nice collage, and then we say, this is my Buddhism. I like this. Reincarnation, who cares? Suffering, not really my cup of tea. What do I like? Buddha nature, Emptiness, nice. Dependent arising, very good. Logic and debate, kind of hard. Let it go. Let's just stick with emptiness, right? You can't nitpick. The whole point is you can't. Because if it had worked, there would be a result. Why are we doing this course in 2024 after Buddhism having gone in the West for the last 40 years? Because something's lacking, right? And what seems to be lacking, the funny thing is, and this is I wonder, this is my own personal thing. Everyone who we are inspired by as teachers have all gone through this training. Everyone. We all want to be like them, but when it comes to the training, we're like, no. What's the shortcut? You had to do it in the mountains. Now we have internet. Now we don't need this. And so now we have, nice. And like we have our Kindles and we have our iPads and we have all our little cool learning tools. I've seen people sit there and devise 1 week of memorization hacks instead of just memorizing. It's constant shortcut attempt. So again, Rinpoche and me don't agree. So maybe we should have made this very clear in the beginning to all of you, but we don't agree that you can do Buddhism. I don't. I genuinely don't agree. I don't think I've got it, but I know that it's hard. Also, I'll tell you one example. The Gen Thupten Pasang here, once he said this to Gen. He said, we say understanding emptiness is hard and practicing But practicing it is easy once you've understood it. But we say understanding bodhicitta is easy, practicing it is hard. There's this very popular saying that's been floating around, right? We like saying this because it sounds very nice. Gentuten Pelsan said, and this is so true, he said, what is bodhicitta? What's the object of bodhicitta? No. No. So first, bodhicitta is easy to understand. We haven't even understood what bodhicitta is. Forget that it's hard to understand. Bodhicitta is the wish to attain Buddhahood. The object of bodhicitta is the desire to attain Buddhahood because sentient beings are suffering. Now, which is the state of Buddhahood that you want to attain? You want to become Shakyamuni Buddha. What do you want to do? What's the Buddhahood that you have as your object that you're wishing to aspire towards? Yeah, so if it's only the wisdom dharmakaya, the wisdom dharmakaya is not doing anything for sentient beings. The wisdom dharmakaya is sitting out in its nice blissed out state, constantly in peace and bliss. So then you have to want the rupakaya and the dharmakaya, both. Which means you have to know that the rupakaya and the dharmakaya exists.
So we actually become a Buddha.
No, you don't have to become, but you have to know that it's possible. Because if you want to benefit all sentient beings and you don't know that there is a state that can do it, then why are you committing your entire life, effort, resources, time and energy to something that you're not even sure of? It's like someone in the 30s saying, go to the moon.
That's like all the teachings on Tantra and all, how to develop and get to become the body, to attain the bodies of the Buddha.
See, the fact that you said it like that suggests that you are saying that it's not there in the sutra. What do you think the entire perfection of wisdom teachings are?
Tantra teachings.
Yeah, but in the entire perfection of wisdom, that entire body of literature is to prove the three kayas. Chandrakirti's Madhyamika Avatara entry to the middle way is divided on the 10 bhumis and then the resultant state of the Dharmakaya. So you don't need Tantra to do that. You don't need Tantra to understand that. Right? So I'm saying even just to understand that it's there, but not forget the explanation. Are you sure that it's there? Like, are you willing to commit? They also say this. You know how the prisoners in Tibet, these lamas who were in the prisons in Tibet, why did they not... You heard the story of... what is his name? Khenpo Kunga Wangchuk. Have you heard of the Sakya Khenpo Kunga Wangchuk?
That because he was afraid of losing his bodhicitta.
Yeah, but my question to you is, that's the story. When His Holiness met Khenpo Kunga Wangchuk, who was tortured in Tibet, he was the founder of Dzongsa, the Sakya monastery in Chondara here. He said that after the things, what he was most afraid of was that he would lose bodhicitta after all the torture he felt. That's the level of conviction that he has to say that this is absolutely the only way out. That's the level of conviction that you have to have. That's what refuge is. Bodhicitta is when you have, by definition, bodhicitta is uninterrupted, effortless. You see even the slightest suffering of someone and not you say, I want to remove their suffering. That reminds you that you have to attain Buddhahood for that. So if I'm sitting here and I'm a bodhisattva, I'm technically right now seeing all of us wishing to attain Buddhahood constantly. That's my drive. That's when you start on the path. So the point is, if you want to attain that level of certainty and that kind of drive, can you have that drive when you're sitting in a state of doubt saying, is it really there? Can I really commit? Can you have that kind of lingering doubt and commit to such a level where all your energies are steered in that? It's not possible, as far as I'm concerned. The texts say it's not possible, clearly. So that's why you're doing this. So the syllogism is simple. Now, whether you knowing it means doubt or it means valid cognition or assumption, let's make it better then, make your syllogism lighter, because I have no idea of what the three jewels are. Yeah? I am not Buddhist because I have not taken refuge. I have not taken refuge because I don't really know what the three jewels are. Because when I think Sangha, I'm still thinking of robed people walking around. When I think Dharma, I'm still thinking of that. And when I think of Buddha, I'm still thinking of that. That's not the three jewels. It's clearly not. So that's Uncle Auntie refuge. That's why Gen said that. Does that make sense? I don't think this is my personal thing, backed by texts. Yeah. So there's two things.
It's a very interesting topic, and I'd like to discuss it. I imagine you want to get to the material. So is it okay if I ask?
Yeah, sure.
Well, isn't one of the... isn't one of the qualities of the Buddha that it's not realized by extraneous conditions, such as...
It's not?
Yeah.
I didn't hear it's not?
The third excellent quality of the Buddha,
Yeah.
not realized by extraneous conditions.
Shinki kenki tom, but others.
Yeah, so it's not realized by Aryas,
Yes.
and it's not understood by Aryas, it's not understood by words and concepts.
No one.
So
Yes.
how can we understand the Buddha if even Aryas can't?
So that's direct. Namkhen nam pensugi chuyu mind. That's what it says. It's only nam pensugi chuyu, which means the omniscient mind as it is only realizable by Buddhas amongst each other. Inferentially we can, but not as it is. Even when they say, there's that thing we say, Masam jo meshera parul chin, which is that it is ineffable Masam. It is inconceivable, ineffable Masam jo meshera parul. The Pragya Paramita that is ineffable. His Holiness says this a lot as the praise. Have you all heard this? Always at the teachings, it's always the first thing that His Holiness says. Masam jo meshera paroji magi miga namkhen oini soso rari yishichuyupa dusungeva yumla chaselo. Which is, I take refuge to the mother of the Buddhas of the 3 times, that is the great Pragya Paramita, ineffable, inconceivable, not produced, not ceasing, like space. Have you heard that? And only its own that. When you say ineffable, inconceivable, there's a big debate on this. But the point is, the way you see it when you have direct realization of it is not the way you see it when you're inferentially understanding it. So it's inconceivable until you have direct access to it. It's inconceivable as those who have direct access to it. So it's kind of, the example is, you can describe sugar to someone, but until they did that, that's what it means. So the Buddha's qualities are not Duma che, but Duma che shin lunki drup shinki kenki tomi, but this is what you're saying. It's not known by others. This not known by others means it's not known the way the Buddhas perceive it, the way the Buddhas realize it. You can do it inferentially. That's different.
I simply have a question concerning the relation. I was wondering, are we going near the possibilities when there are relations that are hidden or not contrary to direct or indirect? But I was looking for relationship in we have many relations in natures, but they are not seen to the eye, but logically, so they are hidden and non-hidden. Is it like that? Yes? Okay.
Some relations you'll see later in Tariq it comes.
Okay.
In Tariq, when you're talking about, anyways, this is all coming. There is a Dignaga, he says in his commentary, he says, Dil amosumam jesu papatongi, which is saying the relation can either be known directly or through inference. So certain relations are hidden and you need reasoning to know the relation. Other relations are manifest, you just perceive them. And then there is an entire section in the first chapter, which we do soon, how you perceive causal relations directly.
So there is an explanation. So we can say, okay, even though I don't see it, I can. Even though it's not it's not contradictory, non-opposed. It's even if I don't see it, I won't have my opponent say yes, but.
No, you can prove it.
Okay.
You can prove it. Yeah. That's the main, not the main, but that's like a substantial chunk of the first chapter. Is that?
Okay.
It is that. We're not going to do any text today, I'm afraid. Please carry on. It's fine. It's Diwali, it's a good day.
I had a question I wanted to ask yesterday, but since I didn't get the chance, I'll just ask.
Ask who?
You.
Oh, good.
So, you talked about certainty and conviction yesterday, Genren Rinpoche.
Me? Genren Rinpoche.
I will ask you now, but Genren Rinpoche talked about certainty and conviction in the path. And so just following up on what Jason also just asked now. So when we talk about certainty and conviction in the path, it's about inferential...
Yes.
Okay.
Right now.
Because for me, when we talk about conviction or certainty, it always feels to me, I can be certain about things I have experienced, so I can be certain about what I don't want.
Yep.
And certainty through reasoning has a very different quality nonetheless than having certainty about something that I have experienced. And
Yeah.
to me, it just seems like there's a gap.
Yeah.
And even, I mean, obviously my reasoning is not really rich yet, so maybe that might change, but
Yeah.
so when we talk about certainty and conviction in the path, it is always referred to inferential,
Yeah.
direct, inferential understanding,
Correct.
and that's kind of enough. It is heavy enough to. Okay.
Absolutely, it's enough. I mean, it's like, think of it like this maybe. Right now, you don't have any other choice. That's one. And so that's a little discouraging. But two, that's not enough. Also, the inferential one is not enough, which is why you're cultivating it. To have it transform into what. Also, just, I actually don't know. But what does the word English experience even mean? I actually don't know. Because I have a feeling that we in English have started to equate conceptuality with something that is contrary from experience. So I'm not sure what you mean when you say experience. You know what I mean? Because what we're translating as experience.
Direct perception.
Is that what we're translating as experience?
I'm not. So I mean.
So let's see. What do you mean by experience?
So to me, kind of to all very basic, but if it seems like it is possible to have certainty about what I want to renounce, because I have experienced it.
Again, but tell me what you mean by experience. It's like you have had.
It's like I had a certain type of food, and I can say I don't want this food anymore.
Okay.
Because I have tasted it.
Right.
But to say if I want Buddhahood or I don't want Buddhahood, in a sense, how can I know? I have not experienced it.
But then tell me like this,
Yeah.
do you mean, for you does inference, is it devoid of all kind of feeling and sensation? Is it just some sort of dry conceptual thing? I have a feeling many of us think like that. I'm not saying you
No,
are,
it's
I've just
not, but
noticed.
it's
It's
not,
not?
it's
Okay.
different. And
It's not the
gap
same,
is-
sure, okay.
Yeah.
So then, yes, then right now it's only inferential. Of course it's only inferential. It has to be.
But I guess I don't know, not the assumption, but I will just say assumption is that kind of certainty and conviction is enough, because I mean it is unwavering.
Yeah.
It is said, right? So
Yeah.
okay.
But there's one interesting thing over here, which is, you probably haven't, maybe you have, I don't know, but maybe you haven't. When you do reason, when you use inference, right, when you generate inference, you're doing it through syllogisms. What we haven't discussed yet, which is, actually even during Tariq, it doesn't come up very much, but it's like an essential part, is you always use an example. Okay? So for something to generate inference, it has to be based on an example. That example has to be something that you experience. Okay? So, from an experience, you deduce a inference. So it's not like your inference completely devoid of experience. It's devoid of the same intensity of experience that will be the resultant experience, of course. But it's deriving from experience. Whether it is of impermanence, whether it is of suffering, whether it is of reincarnation, whether if it is of the stages that you develop along the path, whether it is of emptiness, whether it is of dependent arising, whatever experience you will have in the future, it's explained through reason or a syllogism that has to be founded in some similar example which you experience now. So the map that's made is you start from experience, you go on to reason, and then you end again on experience. Right? So you're not totally dry intellectual because it's founded on your experience. But that's not of the same intensity. So what is driving you is an initial experience that then you can extrapolate from, and then you can gain conviction that if this experience is furthered, is refined, is purified, is cultivated, how much stronger can it become? So you're never starting from zero, that's the point. Yeah? So that example is a very important part of Tariq that's often underlooked.
And the example would be, so I guess we will kind of look whether an example is valid. It's not just a pragmatic choice.
No.
So it's really...
It has to be a valid example. So that's all tariq, yeah. It has to be a valid example where you can prove the relation, and from that relation then you derive conviction, and then through that you use a certain kind of reasoning to show if that same example, which is part of your experience, were cultivated and it were removed of its obstacles, it could transform into this and then this and then this and then this. Yeah? That's how it works. Yeah.
I have 4 questions.
4.
Yes. You just
Have you been accumulating that for the past 3 weeks?
So, take human. How do I turn this on?
The light comes on when I say.
Take human with direct realization of emptiness. It follows they cannot be recognized as the Sangha jewel of refuge because of the vow to not reveal one's realization of emptiness.
No provision.
What no provision?
Just because they're not allowed to reveal one thing, it doesn't mean they cannot be realized. Recognized.
Posit the ways in which they can be recognized.
Through inference.
Inference.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do you want to, it's the second chapter, Pramanavada. Again, keeps talking about this famous second chapter. It's also the one His Holiness has been insisting on, that it's studied a lot. First you prove inferentially that inference is possible. Then you prove inferentially that there is reincarnation. So not only can you have inference, but if you cultivate that mind, it's not going to end when you die. Then you use reasoning and inference to prove that a conceptual mind can transform into direct perception. And if you can prove these 3, then you can say, when I understand emptiness, when I cultivate it, that mind of inference that I have now can turn into a direct perceiver. And proving that a direct perceiver exists is the proof of there being a being who has direct perception of emptiness. So interestingly, the first person who you realize that on whom you realize that direct perception of emptiness is possible is yourself, not someone else. So this is your resultant refuge. You know how you have causal refuge and resultant refuge? Causal refuge is outside, right? The resultant refuge is the one that you realize through inference. So you can transform into the Sangha. And similarly, there's other people. Then if you carry on, you will transform into the Buddha, resultant refuge. And in your mind stream, you will have Dharma, resultant refuge. And then everywhere else where it is there, then they can assist me because it's the same thing that I need.
Interesting.
Yeah? So it's inference.
Take pot, it follows it is different.
Why?
Take pot, it follows it is one.
Exactly.
Take pot, it follows it is not one.
Why?
Because it does not fulfill the definition of one.
Reason not established.
Posit the definition of one.
Phenomena that is not diverse.
Take pot, it follows it as phenomena, plural.
Plural one.
Take pot, it follows it as phenomenon, singular.
Except.
So take the definition of one, it follows it as for phenomena and not one singular phenomenon.
No, I think it will go both ways. This is another English anomaly. Because if you're thinking about one basis, then you say phenomenon. If you're thinking about 2 things, or you might be thinking about 2 things, then you think phenomena. Yeah.
This is where the argument came in that there's a third category of singular, discrete, individual phenomena such as permanent that are not one or different.
I see. Okay.
Okay, take a pig's beard. It follows it is a functional thing.
Do pigs have beards? They do have these wispy things. Don't they? Yes. They do, no? You're talking about a non-existent beard, I'm assuming. Okay, fine.
Okay, I'll just use a different example. Take a frog's toenails. It follows it's a functional thing.
Why?
Okay, take mental object forms. It follows they are functional things.
Except.
So take a frog's toenails. It follows that they are mental object forms.
Why? Nice.
Because they appear as a mental object form.
Reason not established.
Explain.
They don't appear as mental object form. They appear to a mind, which can be both mental. I'm assuming even visual. If someone from a distance mistakes those little toes to have nails, it's possible. But that's an interesting point. That's the whole thing about existent and non-existent. So just because it appears to the mind, it doesn't have to be mental object form. That's kind of where we're trying to get at eventually. Also, if you remember, mental object form wasn't to any mental consciousness. It was to non-conceptual mental consciousness. Because when it starts appearing to conceptual, then it becomes permanent. That's that permanent thing. Yeah? It doesn't specify that, but when you do it later, when you do conceptual minds appearing, what appears to the conceptual mind is a imputation. It's a mental construct. Yeah. But yeah, that's a fair thing. That debate is also the one where you can take follows it as an existent. Where is it? Object of awareness. What was that one? Do you remember that definition that is rather ambiguous? That which is suitable to that which is fit to be an object of awareness. You can do that also. Take the toenails of a frog. It follows they exist because they are fit to be. Because they're fit to be an object of awareness, because they are an object of awareness, because they do appear to awareness, because they appear to a consciousness, right? So that's another debate that we often do.
Okay, I have a slight remix to that question.
Yeah.
Take the reverse of a reverse chicken's reverse lips. It follows it as chocolate.
Slow. Take the reverse of... There was 3 reverses.
I was thinking of it mathematically, like with the brackets.
Take the... What? Take the reverse...
Take the reverse of a reverse chicken's reverse lips.
Take the reverse of... Oh God, I don't know how to think of this. Reverse of a reverse chicken's reverse lips. So take a what? Reverse of reverse chicken. That's chicken. Oh, chicken's non-lips. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
It follows it appears to awareness.
Awareness? Yeah, of course. I just had a nice vivid appearance of it right now. Yeah, except.
Okay, last question is going to be trying to extract the Dharma out of you.
I don't have any need for it. I have the definition of it. What's the definition of phenomenon? That it is. That, yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, so take the permanent residency requirements for the Tushita Buddha field. And the visa requirements for Tushita.
Alright?
It follows their one entity.
Yeah, exact.
It follows their substantial one.
Yeah, except. Yeah.
It follows they have the same substantial cause.
Except.
So it follows that to get a temporary visa into Tushita and to get permanent residency is the same entity?
Why?
Posit
Did you say permanent visa or you said visiting visa? Permanent residency and visa.
Yeah.
That is just temporary visa.
Yeah, temporary.
Oh, they're not substantial.
Not substantially one.
No.
But they are one entity.
No.
Can you posit what each of them are?
I don't really know.
Okay, that is all for now.
There's Gen is on this thing recently, which I found it fascinating. You know Gishima Kyasamama? She was telling me because Gen to them, his new research is what are the causes to be reborn in the Buddha realm, in the pure realm. He's actually written 2 books. One on, I think it's on Amitabha's pure realm, and he's doing one on Tushita. He's your VFS, you can ask him to get there. Yeah,
The reason I ask that is because there are stories that permanent residency is like the 10th level bodhisattvas only,
Yeah.
then only have
Yeah.
one birth left. But then I read like many Maitreya Sutras on 84,000 which said that you can go there much easily. So I'm assuming the more easier route is just a visa.
I think those are just you get there for a while and because of favorable states to practice, and otherwise it's those 8th level onwards bodhisattvas who are in those pure bhumis who are always around the Sambhogakaya aspect of the Buddha. So the reason, even Gen said this on one of the first days, I don't remember if any of you recall, the Sambhoga Akaya aspect of the Buddha is never going to cease. And that's because there's always those level of bodhisattvas who are always there receiving teachings. Whereas in a certain determined space or area like our realm, the Rupakaya, that is temporary. So that has moments when it comes and it goes. But with the Sambhogakaya it doesn't, because there's always those bodhisattvas around.
So take all the Panditas that Arya Asanga saw when he visited Tushita. It follows that they are all 8th level bodhisattvas.
Some of them might have been visiting.
Oh, sure, okay.
Some of them might have been visiting. Yeah, some could have been on a visa, probably. Okay?
It's okay, we don't have to become Buddha or anything. Stick with the shape and color.
Yeah, you stick to shape and color, it will happen eventually. Okay, is there anything on relations that's not clear? Yeah.
Take say definition of relation and sky and aurora borealis. Is the relationship different from that and the absence of that? What I want to know is the relation correct?
Between what?
Okay, I didn't ask the question. Okay.
Between the sky and the aurora borealis.
Yes, yeah.
What is the relation between the sky and the aurora borealis?
What is the relation? Does it correspond to the relation we just explained this morning?
Related.
Are they related? Yeah.
The sky and the aurora borealis.
Yes.
God, this is some scientific phenomenon. I don't know. What do you say? Yes? Henrik, this is provoking you.
Yes? Okay. I just wanted to know if I understood.
I don't know. I don't know. He seems to know. He's from that part of the world. They see it sometimes, I think.
Okay. So
If you remove the sky, can you still have a...
no, exactly. So it works both ways, actually. No. You can have the sky, but no aurora borealis. But not the other. So this is the definition, yes? Okay. Thank you.
Very easily convinced.
Yes. For the moment.
Atisha, as far as the 3 possibility and 4 possibility, what percent of it is actually factual, and does it have wiggle room? Like, it's, for example, like what I understood growing up as a fact versus an opinion, later on I realized a lot of the facts are actually opinions also.
Yeah.
Like, is speeding immoral? No.
Yeah.
But someone that gives you a ticket,
Yeah.
they say factually you will get a ticket,
Yeah.
and that is immoral. So what percentage of 3 and 4 has leeway to wiggle? Can like a 3 be a 4 or?
I mean, no, 3 cannot be 4, 4 cannot be 3, of course. But I think so it's nice because I remember the first thing that I felt when we started studying was 99.99% of what I thought was 3 was actually 4.
Okay.
In my personal experience.
So when I ask around among us, it seems like it's very factual. And even when Gainla, he gave his
It seems very
Tuesday.
factual.
Yes, his Tuesday, he's like, our first month we were taught this, and if you didn't know the relations and you didn't know if it was 3, 4, MI or ME, then you weren't ready for debate. So I'm like, there's got to be.
But see, Jay, I think what you're taking over here, which is maybe that wasn't, maybe you didn't, maybe, I don't know if it was communicated clearly. Knowing 3 and 4 is not what's important. Knowing how to test for what is 3 and 4 is what we're checking.
Yeah.
Right? That's the important thing, because actually knowing 3 and 4 can only happen when you understand how you verify a relation. Right? So right now we're kind of just winging it. Again, also, I have an exceptionally, I've just had great teachers. So again, gave me 2 examples. He said, in Tibet, up until I think the English came with rabbits? No. Ducks. Was it rabbits? Ducks. I don't remember. One of them. Swans. All of them were white. So in Tibet, at that point, no one would have said between white and swan there are 4 possibilities? No one. Because in that area at that time, there was only white swans. Then as the borders opened and you started communicating with other people, then or other influences came, you're like, wait a minute. Right? Like the same thing with India. Earlier in India, we said if it is a cow, it has to have a hump. Period. Then times changed. Then Gen gave another really nice example. He said, when was the telephone invented? Does anyone know? It's not really important. Was it 100 years ago? More than 100 years ago? 200 years ago? Okay, so if 300 years ago, I came to you today and said, oh, I spoke to my mother this afternoon, it would necessarily follow that I met my mother this afternoon. But now, there's no pervasion anymore. Right? So Gen's point, which is really nice, which is also the issue in the first chapter, which is why I'm saying you need to do that to understand whether it's really 3 is, the objection that many people, especially the scientific community, often has with the Buddhists when they're doing this discussion about 3 possibilities, 4 possibilities, which is essentially a pervasion is, and that's kind of the scientific model is, you do a lot of sample studies, you derive a theory, from that theory you derive a scientific law, but it's always open to be disproved, right? So through many examples, you come to a conclusion that generally it works like that. Then you do experiments in tested settings, and if again and again it repeats itself like that, then you say, oh well, it is like that, but you're always leaving room for it being disproved, which is kind of the attitude that is similar to what you're saying, which is like, well, it sounds like 3, but suddenly it might switch. And Gen said that's something that you as someone who's studying Buddhism really need to contend with. Because the claim here is, we're saying that's not true. There are certain cases when there's only 3. It's not that it's 3 now, and then something will come along in the future and prove it to be otherwise. Okay? So for that, Gen's point was, use the example of being able to speak to people 300 years ago, you had to be nearby. Use the example in Tibet of a swan. Use the example of in India a cow. Until proven otherwise it is 3 possibilities, doesn't mean that it is 3 possibilities. It means you think there's 3 possibilities. So initially with debate, you start to get constantly thrown down because you're like, my God, I thought there was 3, but there might not be 3, there might be 4. But when you get certain is when Dharmakirti tries to prove how you can show that there's 3 possibilities. And as we've seen today, 3 possibilities are only when something is related to something else. Yeah? Because if this is then, it is A, it follows it is necessarily B, is only possible if A is related to B. So relations become like the real cornerstone of Buddhist logic. Yeah? So then, right now, doesn't matter. Right now we need to learn how to test whether it's 3 or 4. So you can say with complete confidence, even almost veering towards being brash, that there's 3, but you're doing it more there's a utility to it, and you're using it as a tool to learn how to check for 3 and 4. Then that becomes quicker, that ability becomes quicker. But the real proof is relations. Yeah? And that's like the real point of the first chapter. Yeah?
Thank you.
Yeah. So on that, just one thing, I want you to notice one thing. Take the 8, what are they? Particles of pot. It follows the coextensive but not substantially one. Coexistent. Yeah? The 8 particles, elements. Yeah? It follows the coexistent but not substantially one. Are they related to each other? So take the earth element and the water element in a pot. It follows they're related to each other. Take the earth element, it follows it is related to the, water element in a pot. Because it fulfills the definition of being related to the water element. It follows it does fulfill the definition because it is distinct or it is different from the water element in a pot, and if the water element in a pot did not exist, it would necessarily entail that the earth element did not exist. Which one? Can you have an earth element of a pot without a water element of a pot? It follows the earth element of a pot and the water element of a pot are not coexistent. Fair enough? Got it? Yeah? Are they coexistent? Coexistent means they arise, endure and cease together. So if one ceases, the other has to cease. Yeah, earth element of a pot and water element of a pot. It follows they arise, cease and endure together. So if the earth element ceases, the water element has to cease. Take the earth element of a pot. It follows it is related to the water element of a pot. It follows it is not related to the water element of a pot because it doesn't fulfill the definition of being related to the water element of a pot. What is the definition of being related to the water element of a pot? It is different from the water element of a pot.
If water were not to exist.
Water element of a pot. Say the whole thing so just clear.
It's different from water element of pot, and if water element of pot were not to exist,
it would necessarily entail that earth element would not exist.
Okay.
Is that so? You agree that it doesn't fulfill this definition?
Sure.
Yeah. You see, there's a little bit of uncertainty. Now there's another one that you need to check. Take direct cause of seed of sprout. Take direct cause of sprout. It follows it is related to the sprout. Take the direct cause of sprout. It follows it is related to the sprout. Because it fulfills the definition of being related to sprout. It follows it does fulfill the definition of being related to sprout because it is different from sprout, and if sprout did not exist, it would necessarily entail that the direct cause would not exist. Not indirect cause, direct cause. Take the direct cause of a sprout, it follows it is related to a sprout because it is different from a sprout, and if the sprout did not exist, it would necessarily entail that the direct cause of a sprout would not exist. Right? Sounds like it? Okay, both of these are not related. Yeah? So now you need to make sense of necessarily entail. Yeah? So, if the earth element of a pot did not exist, the water element of a pot would not exist. That's true, because they have to coexist, right? But the earth element not existing is not dependent on the water element not existing. Because the earth element existing is not dependent on the water element existing. This is the subtlety that you need to understand from it would necessarily entail that. In the definition, it doesn't say if it was not there, that would not be there, right? It says if that was not there, it would necessarily entail. Yeah? So, I'm just prepping you because in Tariq, there's a thing that's going to come like that very soon. I want you to at least get familiar with this now and I'm going to drop it, okay? Is that clear what we're saying?
I just have a question.
Yeah.
So the earth element would be the it and the
So let's do it. Take the earth element and the water element of pot. The earth element of pot and the water element of pot. If the earth element of pot didn't exist, the water element of pot would not exist. Correct? And vice versa. Because they are they are coexistent. Got it? But if the earth element did not exist, it would not necessarily entail that the water element would not exist. That's a distinction that you need to make. One sec. Is that clear so far? That's what we're getting to. One sec. But is this clear what we're saying? The distinction that we're making. We're saying if the earth element does not exist of a pot, the water element of a pot does not exist. But the water element not existing doesn't entail necessarily from the earth element not existing.
I don't really understand.
No, I'm just saying. Can you make the distinction? Have you understood the distinction verbally at least?
Like one entails the existence of the other, but not vice versa.
Yeah, no, neither entail the existence of each other. Okay, that's what's going to come. Okay? Yeah, pardon?
Please give me a valid example for a relation. What was it?
Yours, construction site and house.
Okay,
That's an example of relation, no?
okay,
Yeah? Okay?
good.
This is premature, but I just want you to just hear it once because I don't know later if I'll be able to tell you. And then I'm going to give you a lot of relations today. Because tomorrow afternoon I have to leave you so you can do a debate session tomorrow afternoon. I have to go be a householder, unfortunately, and clean and do all those things. Tomorrow afternoon at this time, please do debate. Yeah? Okay? So I'm going to give you a ton of these things. Yeah? Okay? So, yeah? What does this mean? Let me just say normal, giving them to you now. I'm just going to tell you this and then we have 20 minutes. Then I'm going to give you the many relations. Okay? So, what does this mean? What this means is, you'll see it later, but two things can coexist. Okay? Not only can they coexist, they can always go together. Which means if one ceases to be there, the other also has to cease to be there. But this is not sufficient to prove relations. To prove relation, the existence of one has to be tied to the existence of other, which means when one ceases to exist, it possesses the power to make the other one not exist. So it's not just if A doesn't exist, B doesn't exist. A's non-existence or the ceasing of existing of A somehow has to have the power to make B stop existing. At least the distinction is clear that this is what is being said. A not being there means B is not there, but B not being there is not coming or does not entail. Maybe entail is not the right word. Ensue? Can we say ensue? Necessarily follows, right? It again, but necessarily follows could be like a, is it necessarily there? We're not saying it's necessarily there or not. It is necessarily not there, but it not being there doesn't result from A not being there. Ensure, entail, result. Okay? A not being there means B, no, so let's go like this. A and B. Okay? If B doesn't exist, A doesn't exist. But if B doesn't exist, A's not existing doesn't have to follow from B's non-existence. There's a distinction between these two. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Two separate examples. So let me give you the example of the earth element of a A not existing, A not existing, B doesn't exist. Yeah? But B is not existing. This is the whole, this is just one. All of it's still just one. But B not existing doesn't have to follow from A not existing. That's what this means. Okay? Now your A's and B's, let's give an example of where they are. So, if a seed does not exist, a sprout does not exist, and the seed's not existing results in the sprout's non-existence. Okay? That's an example of where it is there. Fine? This is an example of where the seed not existing. If a seed doesn't exist, doesn't exist.
You're not saying that if the sprout exists, then the seed also exists?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just looking at it with the seed and sprout. Just listen. If the seed doesn't exist, the sprout won't exist. And the seed's not existing is what results in the sprout not existing.
That's actually not what.
That's not the example. That's the opposite of what I just gave you, the A and B. Now I'm giving you an example of A and B. Okay? So seed and sprout is a case where seed not existing means is also when a sprout doesn't exist, but the sprouts not existing results from the seed not existing. Okay? Now the other one. The fire element of a pot and the earth element of a pot. If the earth element doesn't exist of a pot, then the fire element also doesn't exist of a pot. But the fire element's non-existence doesn't result from the non-existence of the earth element. This is, one second. Is this clear? I'll say it again. If the fire element doesn't exist of a pot, then the earth element of a pot also doesn't exist. And you know this because they are coexistent. Okay? But the fire element not existing is not the result of the non-existence of the earth element.
Do we say non-existent or we say absence?
Same thing.
Same thing.
Same thing. Same thing.
What's it the result? Yeah.
So that's what we need to check. That's what we need to check. Huh? That's one answer. There's many answers that will come up. But I just want you to know that there's two such examples where we say A not being there means B is not there, but it doesn't mean that A is not being there results from B not being there. That's so in the definition, where is this explained? Like where are you supposed to get this from in the definition? That's what I'm trying to get at. The necessarily entails. That's why there is an addition of necessarily entails. Does that make sense? Okay? Now we need to check where, why, how, etc. That's now to be done. Yeah.
The first example that you gave of the cause of the sprout, if it was related
Direct cause.
the direct cause
Yeah.
of the sprout being related to me, I was thinking that different than if you had said seed.
Same thing. Seed that is a direct cause of a sprout. You can even say it like that, right? A seed that is a direct cause of a sprout, is it related to a sprout?
If you say it's a direct cause of the sprout, then
You kind of want to say that it is, right? Yeah, I know. So these are the two kind of issues over here. Why is this? There's a very nice example that the non-Buddhists give in the text to say that causes are related to their effects. They say if, I don't know if this is true, apparently if it's going to rain, all the ants come back into the house. I don't know if this is true. So the example that you find in the Pramana Vatika is the Buddhist, the debate between Dharmakirti and I don't know who it is here. They say, from a cause you can prove an effect because the cause is related to the effect. And they gave this example. They say, for instance, or we also say this in India, Barish hogi mor naach raha hai. Have you heard this?
Yeah.
We say it's going to rain because the peacocks are dancing. It's a very Indian thing. We say this a lot in India. Isn't it true?
Yeah.
What does the cuckoo lead to? Rain? Monsoon is coming because the cuckoo is singing. So there is this notion that causes are also related in some way to their effects. Okay? Now the Buddhists are saying that's not true. Causes are not related to their effects. Effects are related to causes. It's coming. There's no need for you to write this. This is tomorrow morning's class will have all of this. Okay? Yeah? Okay? So, Kelsey, causes being related to effects is a bit of an issue. And that's going to come in the first chapter. So two things will come up in the first chapter where you will have to keep this relation in mind. One is this one about earth element and water element or fire element, etc. And the other one is, can you prove the existence of an effect by proving the existence of a cause? These are the two things that will come up later. So just keep these in your bank account, make it like a fixed deposit, and then we'll cash it in like 3 weeks. Okay? So just keep this as information there, and then when you're debating cause and effect, when you're debating relations, if they come up, that's great. But just keep them floating around in the back of your head, because in about 3 weeks, they become very, very important.
They will have
Yeah?
many interests.
They'll give lots of interest, yeah. Very high interest rate. Okay? So now write down a few relations. We haven't done the divisions of relations yet, yeah? That's tomorrow. We're just doing relation generally, okay? So what is the relation between related and functional thing? Related and functional thing. Related and permanent. Yeah? Okay? Then between related to pot and related to pillar. Okay? Then related to pot and related to functional thing. Yeah, first is your A is pot, related to pot, and your second one is related to functional thing. Okay? Next, related to pot, contradictory to pot. Okay? Then related to pot, contradictory to pillar. One more. You're writing really fast suddenly.
Because you're
Huh? My speed has come down?
well, they're shorter. Some of them are like 5 letters, 5 words, and 5 other words.
Related to pot and substantially one with pot. That's longer? Now it starts, yeah. Related to pot, substantially one with pot. Okay? Related to pot, cause of pot. Related to sprout, related to seed, effect of seed.
Related to seed, effect of seed?
Yeah, so the first one is related to pot, cause of pot, related to seed, effect of seed. Yeah? Then related to, we can't keep doing pots all the time, pillar and generality of pillar. Generality, related to pillar, generality of pillar, huh? And then related to pillar and instance of pillar. And then related to pillar and permanent. That's it.
Reverse and non-reverse is also another category under other.
Related to pot and reverse of pot. You're asking, so you might as well write a few more.
Can you repeat that?
Related to pot and reverse from pot. From?
Yeah, I forgot. I missed the last.
Yeah. Which one? Someone was permanent.
Thank you.
And then related to pot and reverse from pot, and then one more, because now you want to do some reverses. Related to pot and reverse from pot. Yeah? Okay, that's it. How many are there?
14.
Then tomorrow we'll do the divisions of related, which is intrinsically related and causally related. So to the 14 you'll have another good 10, 12. So I think I've kept you occupied. Yeah.
It doesn't have decisions. It has differentiation.
Just, we'll do tomorrow morning.
So are they acetative? Do they also come under the division of acetative?
What? Yeah, because if it is a phenomenon, it is either going to be reverse or reverse from reverse. You asked me this question, I already answered, now you need to debate it. Okay? Do you want to try? Okay, we have 10 minutes. I'm not going to give you any new information because I think I'll just confuse you. Do you have anything you'd like to clear off?
Can you just repeat what we need to put in our safety deposit box?
So in your safety deposit box, right now, if you want to kind of just essentialize it, why in the definition does it say necessarily entail? Right? Because the definition is saying that. The definition could have very well just said, it is different from that, and if that did not exist, this won't exist. It could have said that, right? But it doesn't do that. The definition says, it is different from that, and if that does not exist, it necessarily entails that this does not exist, right? So it's giving an added meaning, or there's an extra layer. That additional thing is replying to the possible contradiction that would be faced if that wasn't there. Because if the fire element of a pot did not exist, the earth element of a pot could not exist. But the Buddhists don't accept that the earth element of a pot is related to the fire element of a pot. So you just need to put in your safety deposit box right now the meaning of necessarily entail. And what does that mean?
Can we give that relation between coexisting and necessarily?
And of course. What is the relation between coexistent and related phenomena? Coexistent phenomena and related phenomena. You can definitely do that. You want to do it now?
You
Yeah.
also said examining whether effect is related to cause or cause.
So the other one will be the direct cause. So like direct cause of sprout, is it related to sprout? That's the one that you're checking. Because if sprout does not exist,
Sprout related to sprout.
yeah. Okay? Just think one question. If sprout does not exist, direct cause cannot exist, right? Right? Because the direct cause, what's the difference between an indirect cause and a direct cause?
Direct cause doesn't,
Huh?
the direct cause and effect has no temporal.
Which means what, in other words? It means the effect has to arise. So there is no scenario where there is a direct cause of an effect and the effect doesn't come about. So if an effect never came about, then there has been no direct cause for that effect. But is a direct, is the indirect, can there be an indirect cause of sprout without a sprout? Yeah. Right? A sprout can never come into existence, but that doesn't mean that something was not producing the sprout. But the direct producer of a sprout can only exist if in the next moment there has to be a sprout. So if a sprout does not exist, the direct cause cannot exist. Yeah? But whether the direct cause of a sprout is related to a sprout or not is not clear. So the necessarily entails whether it fulfills or not is to be seen. Okay? So the necessarily entails part, what is it adding to fire element of pot and water element of pot? Like what additional layer of meaning is not being met between fire element of pot and earth element of pot? Okay? And with the direct cause and its effect, if the effect is not there, the direct cause cannot be there, but why does it maybe not have the necessarily entail part in it? Okay? Now why this is important is because this is where your understanding of dependent is going to come from, relation. Right? It depends on that because it necessarily comes from that. Which means if that is not there, then the thing not being there has the power to make this one not be there. So this necessarily entailment is kind of a very important factor. So just keep that on the back burner and just keep it going for a while. Okay? Yeah?
I have one question.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how to say the word, emancipation, like the arising, no, like the Tara, emanation. So, regarding what Genla said about Buddhas and stuff, if Tara can emanate in the stones and here and there, why cannot Buddha emanate in a normal human being, and they can become Buddhas, right?
A Buddha emanates as a normal human being and then becomes Buddha again.
No, like Tara emanates, right? They say, oh, Tara is emanating here, and they post pictures of these in the stones and here and there, like even Hindu gods.
Oh, like when you do the, what's it called? No. When you do the statue, you do what's it called?
Yeah,
Prana-pratishtha.
self-arising,
Oh,
not
that
Prana-pratishtha.
Oh, self-arising.
Yeah. So why not it does not happen in the human body itself? Why not? We don't have to go through the whole this Buddha practice or anything.
You mean why can't you just relax, hang out, and the Buddha come in and just do the job for you? Is that what you're asking?
I mean, like, we have experiences, right? Not, unless somebody has some experience, they don't come in to study Buddha or Jesus or anything. It's
But
like
if you have an experience, then why don't they just kind of take over? Is that what you mean?
you have some experience to come in to study.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you are being exposed to something in a way. So why can't that be an invitation to study into the Dharma or any other scriptures? Why it has to be such a difficult thing that we don't understand it completely, you know? We understand some instance of it, something of it, you know?
Why does the Tara come down and say, I'm Tara, you should practice it?
No, I'm not saying that.
I think that the clearest reason that the one that you find, at least in the text, I don't know otherwise, but the clearest reason in the text is it's because how long it takes or how difficult it takes is how ingrained your misconception is. Literally, that's what it is. So I think, I'll give you a very good example. Maybe I can't give you that example because this is being recorded, but otherwise, amongst us, I can. But sometimes you have people who are very close family members who you see have gone through some sort of very traumatic event, and you can see that traumatic event is really tainting their everyday living and it's really hindering it. And you, from the outside, can clearly trace back and see why they're like that. And so, in your experience, because you can see that, you can say, but it's not so hard, like, why can't you just understand it? And why can't you just get out of it? But for someone who doesn't have that same experience or doesn't have that same kind of, trauma, for lack of a better word, you can't understand that. And therefore, why is it so hard for someone who's had such a traumatic experience to break out of it is going to depend on how strong that experience that they had was. It can last for 1 year, it can last for 2 years, it can last for 10 years, it can lead to suicide, it can lead to a whole series of things. So the answer is just how ingrained is your ignorance, and by ignorance we're talking about misperception. If your ignorance is that ingrained, then that's why it's going to take so much of an effort. Literally, I don't think there's any other answer. And now the fun question that you need to ask is, how ingrained is it? And I think there is very clear how ingrained it is. You can ask yourself and you can check. And the easiest question is, how easily are you willing to accept that everything that is around you is a projection of your mind? How quickly are you willing to give in to this idea? Or how quickly are you willing to accept it based on your perception of things? Do things look like they are real, or do they look like they are your projection? What do you feel? And if you feel that things are real, then that's how hard it is. That's why you have to make that much of an effort. It's like me who's terrified of planes. I've done everything to get out of the fear of flying. I'm still petrified. That's why it's so hard. But for my pilot friend who's overcome his fear of flying and is now a pilot, when he sees me, it's so easy. So I think the text says when the Buddhas look at you, they're like, you're like little children, why can't you understand that it's not like that? But like a therapist is very sweet and they're very understanding and they know you take your time, but they're very patient with you. They have to be patient with us because that's how long it's going to take, because that's how ingrained the bad habit is. That's why. That's, I think, the best example. Someone the other day said something very sweet. They said, they have a lot of love for Indian IAS officers. Someone told me this. And I was like, what is wrong with you? Okay? IAS officers are very high government officials. And they said that they were in Palampur and there was a lady from Karnataka, I think. And they were noticing how all these villagers were coming and they were like, oh, this is our land but we have no paper. Oh, this is our family land but we have no documents. And this young lady was totally calm, totally relaxed. She was talking to them, trying to fix their problems, trying to go through everything, because her inside she was very well versed that these are their problems. They're going to be stuck in this world forever, in this old system of passing on property with little slips of paper or verbally. And so she had given in. And so I suddenly had a different feeling for IAS officers who were very educated, they know the rules very well, and then they have to go and deal with people who have no idea, like we're still living in 300 years ago. But when they come in, it's like children, mothers watching their children play and get very upset when games go wrong and cry and throw tantrums, and you just kind of pander to their needs and you go along with it. That's how they have to act. So that's how Buddhas also feel around us. That's what they say. They look at us and they're like, my God, you're really making mistakes all the time. But it's so ingrained in you, that's why it's going to take so long. But they can't come and magically fix it. They can't fix it because you won't believe it. I had a friend take me up on an airplane and make me fly it. I swear he did that. He took me up and he said, fly it. And I was like, what do you mean? I had sweat patches all the way down to here. And I flew it, but I'm still terrified. Because for me, planes are they're still flying coffins. They're the worst thing that exists. But it's just it's how ingrained the bad habit is. So unfortunately, I think that's the reason. Yeah?
Okay.